so people think, well, AI will allow small businesses to do more work and be able to do more. And I do believe in certain ways they're right, but that's if big business doesn't take their spot first, because the amount of marketing that they can do at such a large scale and take over does make me nervous, specifically on the online space like I'm in. For like, okay, I'm an SEO agency and my one-on-one touch and our specific philosophy is strong, I think. However, 10 years from now, our strategy is going to probably be able to be done by AI in certain ways, honestly, because it's all online based and just coding based. Mm-hmm. So all right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Brotherhood Beyond Business. Today, we're going to talk about AI. It's obviously a hot topic. It's going to be a hot topic pretty much the rest of our life, most likely. But there's so many different ways to look at it. I know in most of my businesses, we use AI in a certain capacity. Very honestly, I think pretty small percentage of what we do is AI based, but it's increasing all the time. So we've been kind of discussing like, what are the things that AI is going to obviously bring that are awesome, positive, that can make our business better? Where are the negatives that might come in with the AI revolution, right? And then, just maybe some solutions on how to, I wouldn't say bulletproof your business from AI, because it's still relatively new. We have no idea where it's truly going. And I think people are so far ahead of my thought process of what they're using AI for that I can't even really understand exactly where they're going with some of this stuff. But it's the idea is like, here's some things that could definitely, I think, in my opinion, there are things that will be like staples in society that computers, at least right now, don't think computers will ever be able to replace. But man, some of the stuff that I've heard, I don't know, maybe, who knows? So there's those kind of things. So we're going to jump in today is just talking about AI, how we're using it in our businesses, or how it's kind of revolutionized things we're doing. I'm going to start off with Danny, because I know Danny's probably been diving into AI or using AI, or going to start using AI in different ways that I haven't quite thought about. So I'd love to hear what you're thinking about doing in the future, Danny, or things that you're currently doing.
Yeah. So when I first heard about AI, you think of like what's that movie with Will Smith where he's just like, they're taking over the world, iRobot, right?
Oh,
like
yeah.
That's your initial thought, right? Is you're like, oh shoot, man, what is this going to be? And then
Terminator.
I think, right. Terminator. Yeah. But like, I think the craziest thing to me with AI is the stuff that just keeps coming out. You're like, I didn't even think of that as a possibility. It's pretty remarkable. So like, I personally, with our business, have been using it actually quite a bit. It's almost like starting to take over some of our fulfillment side of things. So like a lot of our promotional stuff, our ads, our flyers, our social content, our email, stuff like that. It's not that it's like strictly AI, but like I'm using that as like a baseline to get me going, right? So it's a great for idea generation or sorting through thoughts, or Trevor, you and I just met the other day, and I'm using it for helping me plan out my weeks and helping me organize my thoughts or where my focus needs to be and all of that. So for me, like, it's really helped me with idea generation for different things that require ideas, right? That require, I want to create some type of response. How can AI help me generate what I'm trying to accomplish? And then I take that and then I make it my own, right? I put my own spin on it, or I adjust it or change it, everything there. But it saves me so much time. And to be frank, like, I feel I'm really good at speaking, or really good at communicating and doing videos and things like that. But when it comes to like written copy or written things, like it's not my strong suit. I just don't put words together very well in on paper. But when it comes to speaking, I do much better. So for me, it really helps me with that side of things, a weakness that I have in terms of creating content, marketing, promotional things, stuff like that. And what I've started to shift to now is, and listener, I don't know how much our listeners like really know about AI, but like ChatGPT, for instance, has variations now if you upgrade to where like you can create personas, you can create essentially people in there. And I've been using that like crazy. Like I have a copywriting, ChatGPT. I have now a sales manager ChatGPT that knows all of our sales process, everything there. It audits our sales scripts. It audits our transcripts of a sales consult, all of those different things, and it gives feedback, and you can do role play with it. It's honestly, it's almost like a better sales manager than I am. It's pretty crazy. So I'm using it to help elevate and optimize what we're doing so we can just keep improving. So it helps with promotional idea creations. It helps right now. How I'm using it is like a sales manager kind of role, like helping audit and optimize our sales process. Where I've also now started to use it almost like as its own CEO to help me with decision making. And I think for me, that's where like the next big step is like, how can I use chat to help me make better decisions? Whether it's financially, whether it's for a teammate, whether it's for where the business should focus on, where my focus should be, how to prioritize what I feel are our bottlenecks, and where, because I've ran into the past, and I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs do, where you think one thing's the big issue, and then you start tackling that and you find out that's not the thing, right? It's something bigger, or it's something deeper that's actually causing the thing. And I'm starting to find that AI can actually help me uncover those even easier than what I've been able to do, based on our metrics or whatever it is. So for me, like, those are probably the three big things that I've started to implement, and now we're just starting like a fulfillment side of things, meaning like, what are retention activities that we could do in a group training fitness facility. Also writing workouts, right? Like, I can say, you are a expert program designer, you have 15 years of experience, you've studied under Eric Cressy, Mike Boyle,
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Mike, like all these like high end, program design, or certain specialists and things like that. And I say, this is the layout of our room, this is the equipment that we have, this is the equipment that we have over here, here's a workout that we have designed, we want to create an 8-week mesocycle for increasing bench and lunge and mile run. That's what we're doing right now currently, and we're testing it, right? We're putting the workouts in there and spitting it out. Now there's definitely some trials and tribulations where it's like not quite understanding like the timer for the day or this or that, but it's like I just keep prompting it, and it's making our programs better, our fulfillment of our workouts better, it's making it easier, eventually easier, because right now it's a lot of prompting and things like that. But it's just so crazy like how much it's starting to ingrain in our business. But I still think it requires a human to generate. It's not like it's going to run the business, but it helps make the process of the things that we do, fulfillment, sales, marketing, idea generation, decision making, it just makes it easier for the humans in the business. And that's currently how we've used it. The only other thing that we're kind of have on the table right now with AI is we're testing video ads. So running ads ran by created by AI, the new version, and
Mm-hmm.
they're actually pretty incredible. Some of them are kind of weird though. They're like, you try to get them to do movements are not there yet. Like if they try to do push-ups and stuff like that, like they're just they just can't do it. But what's cool is like there's one, and it was like a boxing one. We don't do boxing, but it was like a test one, and like they punch and like everything was good, and then they punched and their like finger came through the boxing glove. It's like there's like little weird stuff like that, which sometimes I kind of like. I think it's funny, especially because you have to put created by AI on it to be compliant at least.
Oh,
um
really?
yeah. So I don't know. It's just interesting, and to me, it's kind of fun. I don't. We're a service based business, so I don't have like the scare that I think it's going to completely take over our business and we're going to be obsolete. But like, I think I'm a advocate of like, it's there, it's not going anywhere. Might as well utilize it the best that I can so that our business can kind of be ahead of the curve and be there with everyone else.
Yeah, I kind of want to piggyback off that because so the way I think about AI currently in our business is exactly how Danny said it, right? It's really just a logic tool for us at this current time. Our business, the businesses that I run, really a lot of them could run even more on AI than probably, especially than more than gyms for sure, like a
Mm-hmm.
SaaS
Yeah.
business and a marketing business. However, I've found AI to be a less quality version of what we do on a service side of things. What I mean by that is like me, no, I'm not smarter than AI in generating ideas, but I'm smarter than AI in communicating with humans personally. And I know when I'm on a conversation with for us, he's a plumber. I'm on a conversation with a plumber, like Anthony was a guy I was on with the other day, talking to him and like hearing his struggles that he's had with SEO agencies, and I was able to like walk him through like, here's how we do this specifically, here's how we overcome that. Maybe AI could do that in terms of like, I know these sales softwares are getting pretty advanced, but there's just like something. I remember at the end of the call, Anthony specifically said to me, he's like, Trevor, it's just nice to talk to a human. Like, I don't know if he meant by AI or anything, but just the idea is like, it's just in general talking to somebody. It's like all email based now, or going to, you have to read a help document. It's like no talking to somebody anymore. And so it's just nice to have that conversation. And I think where we're at in our business, like that is still super valuable, that service-based mentality. And I just don't imagine that ever going anywhere. I don't really see us switching to an AI sales software. I think also our growth goals are not nearly the scale that other companies are. We aren't trying to become a 200 customer business. We're a 60 customer business because we want that specialized, like in person feeling, even though we're doing it virtually. So in many ways, I could use AI probably tenfold than we do, and I just don't see the value in it yet. And I could say it's going there maybe down the road, but for me, where I see it, like Danny was talking about, I use it as like a secondary business coach. So I have a business coach, and he gives me so much value, but I only get so much time with him, and so in between there, I'm using AI to help me. Okay, bouncing ideas off of it, throwing stuff at AI. I'm asking a ton of questions. I have a bunch of personalities, like you said, personas built into there. I have one like my mindset coach, which is Kobe Bryant. It's called the Mamba Mentality, and I like ask it questions when I'm feeling really like binge eating issues or my mental side is just feeling weak. I like just like tell it to call me a little bitch. And so like it does it. It like calls me out, like not.
Does it?
It's never really swore at me that I can remember, but like the idea is like I'm just like I'm being weak right now. Tell me what I need to do, right? Then I also have Alex Hermosi as my like marketing coach, and so when I put marketing things in there, I go have it using his voice and like some Gary V stuff, kind of stuff in there. But it's mainly just like feedback. And then for my staff or team members, specifically like my sales coach Nate for Level Up, is like he's training, AI is helping train him. We take the documents that I create, I'm putting in there for him to have him continue to ask it questions, because me and him just don't have enough time for me to like talk to him all the time. So you can just continue to go into ChatGPT and keep asking, well, I don't really understand this component of the local service ads. Can you explain to me, so when I'm talking to a customer, how to do that? And so I think we're probably using it more for an educational and strategy based tool than we are implementing it in delivery based services. I know the big companies are delivery, 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 and that is the part that I think is replacing other humans. Well, for me, the only things we're using AI for are things I wouldn't pay for right now. Meaning, like I would not pay for these other things. We're using AI to do those things. I just don't know if we'll ever scale big enough to make AI a really super valuable component. Now, it does do a few things in our business, obviously. Like there are things that I know that are happening through AI that are faster than could have been done before, but it's like a very, very like less than 10% of what our business does. How about you, Joe?
Man, I'm so I use it for the basic stuff. I have just gotten into the personas with it, but I've spent a lot of time training it to write in my tone and for it to learn from me. And I don't know what they did. I've had the paid version for a while, and they did an update recently, at least ChatGPT specifically, and its ability to write social media posts, to write emails, to write blogs has improved significantly since it asked me a bunch of specific questions. Because it asked me, like, it prompted me, hey, if you could answer a few questions for me, then I can do a better job for you. And, whatever they're using that data for, I don't know. But it wasn't anything that personal, but it helped me personalize the tone with which it gives me stuff that I need. So I've been able to use it a lot more than I was using it, which has been pretty cool. As far as blogs and social media posts, it just helps me stay consistent in some areas where I wasn't consistent before, or allows me to get some things done that I probably would have hired somebody to do before. And it doesn't take me all that much time because I use AI. I think for me, the next steps with it would be actually some of the fulfillment of back end things that are mostly done on a computer. And I know there's softwares out. There's one called like Blaze AI that it has like a plugin with Go High Level, and you can get it in there and it'll schedule social media posts for you, upload the pictures, all that stuff. Those are the kind of things that I'm looking to start to use it for, and probably some lead follow-up as well, like as far as text messaging goes. I think it's pretty interesting to consider it doing like sales calls, because I've heard some recordings of it overcoming objections and all kinds of stuff. And it's wild how like overall how real it sounds. I think the interesting thing right now is if you're somebody who uses it regularly, which is I feel like almost every business person, then you're going to recognize it when it's being used. Almost every time, right? Because there's little words that get put in there, or there's funky mouth movements, right? Or the coloring is different. Like my buddy he literally wrote a song with AI the other day, and the music and everything, and it's about Breakaway and my business. And it's really, really, for me, it's really, really cool. I'm sure nobody else would care. but I can tell by how the voice in it sounds that it was made by AI. I can hear background songs on Instagram. I know that was made by AI. So that will be the interesting thing, is to see, clearly people are going to use it because there's always going to be people on the other side of that won't recognize it. Like probably a whole generation for sure. But think about like how, like a good example is scam text messages and emails that you get. We recognize them. But like a lot of us, like I know some grandparents and parents that don't.
Yeah.
Right? So they're always going to do that. So I mean, I would assume AI would be something kind of similar to that. There will be a whole generation that maybe doesn't recognize it or understand it when it's not a real person on the other end, but they're still going to use it anyway. And then it'll just get better and better and smarter and smarter.
Yeah, I was gonna pop in there. I feel the same way with blog posts. I can read a blog post and know if Chat GPT wrote it or versus a human wrote it. We actually, so we do use Chat GPT for blogging, specifically for SEO blogging, and I have to go through and edit every so many blogs just to check out and see how it's written and give them feedback saying, hey guys, this is still looking like his Chat GPT, right? We got to like pay attention to these little details inside of there. Also, I was going to bring up a part. I was sent this by my business coach, and this is called the human AI stack, is what it's called. So here's kind of how you got to think about AI going forward. So you need to think of it like a chef. So ever watch a Michelin-starred kitchen in motion? It's quiet, surgical, almost ballet. At certain points, the chef steps in to taste the soup, talk to a diner, or wipe the plate edge. And when it happens, everyone's watching the same thing because the kind of choreography doesn't happen by accident. It takes science, sweat, and systemizing. That's what you're really paying for. And it's a skill set more students, knowledge workers need today. We call it the human AI stack. And so conceptually, you have the machine layer. Start with AI, let it do the prep, chop the veggies, measure the ingredients, clean the mess. These are structured, repeatable, low content tasks. This is where AI gives you speed. Then there's the judgment layer. Now is when you really step in. You apply heat, adjust seasoning, decide when it's ready. This is where the timing and instincts matter a lot. This is where you give AI taste. Then there's a scale layer. Once you have nailed a dish, a workflow, a prompt, a tool, don't just move on, codify it, systemize it, build an infrastructure so others can repeat it without reinventing it. That's how you turn one good plate into a high-functioning restaurant. Prep with AI, cook with AI, plate with AI. That's a system. Learn how to use it every day, and that's how you'll go from a degree holding and directionless to dangerous. And the way I think about that is that second step. I think most people right now that are using AI, they're doing the machine layer and taking that machine layer and just putting it everywhere in the world. They didn't go to the judgment layer and season it, taste it, get it. Like that's where I think for me AI like is where I can tell people are writing or doing things in AI because they didn't take the time to then go in and continue to season it, dial it in, make it not sound like AI, to give it that like human touch that not allows it to narrow it, dial it in more and more and more. And then the third part is people go from step one and then they go to step three, and now they're systemizing it, putting it everywhere in the world when it's kind of crap being put everywhere. It's a bad plate being put everywhere, and that middle layer is being missed. And I think that's like my business coach was saying, like that's the step. Like this is where you'll win in the long term, that people won't even, they might know it's AI, but it'll be such good AI they don't care that middle layer is being missed. So
be interesting to put all that time in and train it, give it information, make sure the tone's right, all that stuff, or whatever we're using it for. And then a company that owns the AI software raises prices significantly. Or, you know what I mean? Like think about the leverage that a company can hold by allowing somebody to use a certain software for $20 a month for a long time, and all the time that you put into it and all the stuff that it remembers, and they'd be able to just like pull it out like that, or just raise the price significantly.
I think of that.
It's going to happen.
So we're a Go High Level agency, right? That's one of my fears is someday Go High Level is like they're going to triple their price or quadruple
Mm-hmm.
because they're so valuable. It's such big, it's everywhere
Does
that
everything.
all of a sudden they just like take it and like take our costs to astronomical, but we have all these businesses built into it. So it's like almost like, well, I can't, it's so sticky. That
Yeah.
does what that, I mean, those, I think that would be bad for that brand, but because that would give another agency, another software a chance to kind of come in and take ground, kind of like what happened with Infusionsoft. Infusionsoft did that, where now it's called Keep, and they did that,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where Go High Level is able to come underneath and sweep in. But it does like that's just a different take on it. But I do think about that with software in general. That when you become so reliant on the software, the technology, that the person that owns the actual original technology can really hold you hostage.
Or they get bought out. Yeah, and they can do that. Like, I think that's a great example of why having competition is probably important too, because they have to weigh the risks and benefits of us, like a big price increase.
Well, it's
Like,
Amazon, right? So Amazon, the reason they were so dominant for so long is the competition. Like Walmart wasn't on the online space at the time, right?
yeah.
And so like they had so much leverage. They had sales tax advantage too because they didn't have to charge sales tax, so they were able to make this bigger financial gap. But also like it was just there's no competition, and now competition's coming out, but they're so far ahead of the game until you brought in the Chinese companies and the Arabian companies that are like Timu, and what's the other one I'm thinking of? But that starts with an A. But those companies out there that until those kind of came along with the same Amazon model, didn't have the finances to back that model. Could anybody really compete against them? But because of that, the competition just allowed them to create so much volume. So.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what scares me with AI. So if I would go into the scared conversations, not even like how to overcome it, but the scared conversation for me is that big business will get bigger and small business. So people think, well, AI will allow small businesses to do more work and be able to do more. And I do believe in certain ways they're right, but that's if big business doesn't take their spot first, because the
Yeah.
amount of marketing that they can do at such a large scale and take over does make me nervous, specifically on the online space like I'm in. For like, okay, I'm an SEO agency and my one-on-one touch and our specific philosophy is strong, I think. However, 10 years from now, our strategy is going to be able to be done by AI in certain ways, honestly, because it's all online based and just coding based. And
Mm-hmm.
so now, like, can they, if the sales become so good, like, if they don't need me to have that personal touch, jumping on a call with a plumber or a pressure washer company, right? Jumping on a call and like that level of sales isn't needed anymore. That's the part that kind of scares me as an agency component, because like, man, like all these things that you see these things coming out and they're very new, but like 10 years from now, man, that's like, that makes me nervous that these big businesses will take more and more gap, and the difference between the top to the bottom is going to be so large. Because we already see that with Amazon versus like mom and pa, like local stores, right? That makes them go out of business. Now on the online agency thing, it's like, oh, AI is great. Now we can make more profit as a small agency. But also those big companies can replace us so fast because they can build all this infrastructure around this AI so much faster than we can.
Yeah. Yeah. They can. The way I just heard it put the other day, like somebody got asked this question that I follow online. He's a guy who uses, like, we use another software at our gym, and AI is built all throughout this thing. And I like chat with the AI bot all the time, like asking it questions. How do I do this? How do I do this? And because it's quick and easy, you know what I mean? As long as it's right, it's not right all the time. So, and I let them know when it's wrong. But he said, it's almost like if you have 1,000 people to, let's say you have a farm or a bunch of farms, a bunch of fields, and you have 1,000 people to be able to work those fields. And then you get one like AI bot or one AI being to help. Well, now you get, almost twice as much work done with the same amount of people. Or you let go, you let go half those people and keep the one AI bot, and you get the same amount of work done, but for way, way cheaper. So it's kind of like you can go the route where like you scale it and grow and grow and grow, or you can use it to maximize what you have and decrease costs also. So it'd be interesting. Everything is like software based or electronic, or is based online, and AI has the ability to do anything virtually for the most. I mean, right now, right? And think about that. You said 10 years. I mean, there's no telling what it's going to be like. I feel like they
So
need
I
to come
don't
out with a
know.
new Back to the Future movie. and like just dive into this stuff, man. Like they're making really funny videos with AI right now with Bigfoot doing stuff and like holding up a phone and like, hey guys, the humans left an energy drink here. I'm gonna try this thing, and he's like, why? It's funny too, right? Like imagine how it's gonna affect Hollywood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, the way they're already doing it at this first like iteration, or I guess third technically, like it's crazy. Like there's almost not even going to be a need for actors. The only thing though, like, is like, will people connect to people like that, right? Like, so you see, like my son loves superheroes, so he like Avengers and stuff like that. He's like obsessed with. So like people love like Robert Downey Jr., right? And he came
Mhm.
back as Doctor Doom or whatever. You know what I mean? And like everyone went crazy, you know, because they loved him. Like, would you still get that with AI actors? You know what I mean? Like, would you still get that deep connection to a movie or a movie series if
Mhm.
you know it's just AI generated? Like, it still could entertain people, right? So it's almost like there still might be like that room for like human interaction, and I think that's really, in my opinion, like the missing piece that I don't think it will be able to overtake. Like even in a business like ours, or like that people, I think it's so AI generated everywhere right now and so automated and everything there that people are like craving, Trevor, like you talked about with your client, is like people are craving that human interaction. They're craving actually talking to people and having that connection there, that I think that's where like the missing piece is, where you can slide in and overtake or overcome the AI automated kind of world that we live in now.
I was reading a newsletter the other day about AI, and it talked about how where is it going, how fast it's going there, and it's going there 10 times faster than realized because of the state of the political landscape as well. And the reason is so think of like the Cold War, Russia versus the United States trying to get to the moon, right? Well, that's I guess before that point, but the race for the moon. And that's what is kind of like the AI for China versus the United States, really. And so it's like we are just pumping out faster and faster technology because we want to be the first in the land in that scape, right? And
Mhm.
so on a high level political side, it's like we don't want to, they don't want to put brakes on anything because like, well, we if we put brakes on it, China's not going to put brakes on it, right? So we're just going to keep chasing. Then you get to the second layer of the people actually developing the AI, and these guys are actually coming out with red flags saying, "Hey, somebody needs to put some brakes on this kind of stuff." But
Mhm.
they're not going to put brakes on it because all the other companies aren't putting brakes on it. So what they're putting out these warning shots saying, "Hey, somebody's got to do something about this." However, we're not going to, because if we do, these guys will take over our business. So then
Yeah.
you have the high level being like, hey, we got to keep pushing that level there. And then you have these big businesses that are like, well, this is profit and all they care about is profit. We all know that. Like all is just profit generation. So they're not going to put brakes on it all. They're going to take advantage of it because they know, kind of like what Amazon did. We have this window of time before we get regulated. We are going to maximize this window. Eventually regulation will come in because something will happen, but we're going to take over so much market. Doesn't matter. So they're going like so fast, so hard, so into it that we're not seeing that. So this is like the guy in the article said we have like a 3-year window of time where AI is going to explode so big that we probably will have to put regulations on it after that. But
Mhm.
but it'll be aftermath of all the stuff that happens, which was like, it's kind of like in a sense COVID, like we kind of went like shut down everything and we'll figure it out from there. It's kind of like look, everything blow up, we'll figure it out from there. So it is kind of interesting hearing the AI people in the middle, one's actually developing the software, saying, "Hey, I red flag, red flag." Even Elon Musk has a red flag that said somebody asked him like, "iRobot, how realistic is that?" He's like, "That's a 20% chance." In his opinion, that means 80% chance there's not. So it's like no big deal. But for me, 20% is a hell of a big chance. Like
It is
that's
a
a
lot.
pretty big odds, personally. But realistically, like that's kind of the I would say the scary unforeseen. And look at how much has changed in like what's only AI has been around since 2022, I think, right? Like December 2022 is when it was first released. So we're still in that very, very new stage of it. And like in the last year, it's crazy. But it is interesting seeing these red flags being raised, and me on us being on the business side of things, and all of us being in service still, right? Our stuff's service based. So I don't think it's hit us quite as much as the product industries have been hit. And so it's like that side where it's like, okay, it's going to keep coming down the pipeline. And if these AI developers are raising red flags, they see ahead of the scale because they're already thinking what they're planning to do with it. And so like the one guy said, the things that we're planning to do with it, you guys are going to be, your mind's going to be blown, and it's not going to be great. But
Yeah.
the idea is it's not going to be great probably for society is what I think he's probably leaning towards. But the idea
Mhm.
is like, I'm not going to stop because nobody's, if I stop, our business is going to be destroyed because somebody else is doing the same thing, right? So that's the scary part, is they're already knowing they're having these conversations, but there's no like top layer regulation saying, you guys, for humanity, because the thing he said in the quote was the AI developer, not the person writing the newsletter, the AI developer said, he said that we will balance the budget. There'll be more wealth in the world than ever before, and 20% of people will be unemployed. That's the obstacle, is though it will be really good up here and really bad down here.
I think what's scary too, Trevor, like you mentioned like the race to the moon. Like at least with that, there's like a destination. With AI, like what's really the destination? Like there's not really like a finish line. They just keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing, you know? And if there's no regulation on it, like I don't even know, because like everything you just said, like capitalist, like they're not going to stop. Like nothing's going to stop this, no matter what. Even if there is regulations, it's going to keep moving forward. And with no like destination of reaching the moon, like I don't even know where that takes you. You know?
Do you guys know who Billie Jean Marketing is?
Yeah,
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's a guy that his name's Billie Jean. I can't remember what his last name is.
Yeah.
I was listening to him on Andy Frisella the other day about, and he dove hard into AI when it first started, right? And obviously his whole business AI. And he's talking about expanding it. And Andy had kind of questioned him, like, well, what do you think about long term for this? Like, what's do you ever worry about like putting people out of business, whatever? And he's like, well, honestly, I don't care. I'm just trying to make money for myself and my family. I think that's an obstacle too, is that's where every person's at, is like, well, I need to do this for my business because everybody above me is making this much money. I need to make this much money. So I do think that's also the human regulation, is we aren't going to regulate it because it's like, well, if everybody else is doing it, I'm going to do it. So we're it is always said that humanity will destroy itself. It's always like we will do it to it. It's not going to be machines that do it. We're going to do it to it by developing machines that do it to us, because we're willing to push the limit, because what can I benefit from this? So regardless, that's probably getting down into like conspiracy theory stuff, but ideas like I think I'm more nervous about the long-term scape, not the current landscape of it. I think the long-term landscape of it makes me more nervous. So.
Do they even have AI performing at or above human levels on standardized tests like the bar exam?
Do they?
Yeah, and the SAT, school entrance exams, because they can train it, like understand visual inputs, solve complex reasoning. And they're getting ready. Tesla's launching like an AI system for driving. Like they have Waymo right now, I saw, which is like a self-driving taxi cab, essentially.
Yeah, we have those in Phoenix.
Yeah, they had Waymo in, that's not Tesla, but they had it in Atlanta when I was just there. And Tesla's getting ready to launch it in Austin, I think, supposed to be this month. So if you have Tesla stock, if you don't have some, you should probably get some.
So expensive right now, though.
I just bought 10 shares. I'm so excited. I got 10 shares of it. I bought it when it was right under $300 a share. Like I shifted money towards it.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, AI does legal reasoning. That's scary.
Yeah, I have heard recently the people that could be affected a lot are attorneys, some of these professional services, CPAs, companies like that pay a lot for a service that really is just like a logic-based thing. So it's like, hey, here's this, like, the logical reasoning can be taken care of by the computer. So
yeah, and I do love that it can help you. I think one of the biggest things I've used it for, I mean, this kind of backtracks in the conversation, but one of the biggest things I've used it for is it helping me research something. You just always wonder, I mean, and then if you're worried, like this seems a bit biased, I need a conflicting viewpoint, but I need you to provide evidence for it. And it needs to be a randomized controlled trial. I want to see a meta-analysis, like stuff like that. And it'll go grab it, and then it will link the resource so you can go review the resource. I mean, it's such a time saver.
Well, that part, like you said there, we do a lot of transferring from other softwares into our software. So we'll go to like Keep and transfer their stuff into ours because somebody wants to leave Keep. And Keep's help documents and finding is just like crap. It's hard to do. But I just go to ChatGPT, like from Keep, how would I transfer things? Boom. Step by step, exactly how to do it.
Yeah.
Transfer that stuff right out. It's funny because it even gives you like, but the negatives are that Keep makes it so you can't do these kind of things exporting. And so like this, so it gives you all the negative, like what are the hardships you're going to go through it with it as well. So I do think research and like this kind of stuff, that's where we're using it for. And I think in general, that is what AI would be great for long term, right? Because it's like, how do I speed up that kind of process? Because nobody else is going to be able to help me with that. That's stuff that you can't really even pay. Like, can't pay somebody on staff to be chatting all the time about those questions. This is so expensive, so time consuming. And so I do get that. Those are the kind of things that, I mean, I don't know if I hate the word regulations. I hate government putting regulations on things. You know, like my conservative mindset doesn't go that way. But I do think like there's a reason we need to create monopolies back in the day, even though they need to restructure what a monopoly looks like, because our monopolies nowadays there are monopolies happening in the United States specifically right now but they don't follow under the old monopoly rules. Amazon specifically.
Oh yeah.
And so in Walmart's in that category now too. So is Disney. So in those things, like they should be restructuring those monopolies. So I do think those are some regulations because it creates too big of a wealth gap. But I also get tough with regulations because then all of a sudden now I don't love my things being regulated either. So, but there are some things that might need to be put in place. But I kind of want to leave.
Well, I think there's ethics involved with AI too, right? Like people can take young girls' faces and essentially make them naked.
Yeah.
Or not just their faces, but like their whole body, and then send it via text or whatever, and it could be like your daughter who's 10.
I mean, they're doing that with like actresses, right? Like putting them in like porn scenes and stuff of that nature.
Yeah, stuff like that. Like, and you can't track that person down and kill them. Like the AI, you can't track down the AI, whatever. Right? I mean, I guess somebody had to push the button, but that's something when it comes to ethics and it comes to violating like privacy, like because that violates somebody's rights.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where regulations are absolutely needed.
Yeah, I think that whole like there's a whole nother conversation from my point, but like YouTube and that kind of stuff. I think there should be regulations on what you can say about people and get away with, because there's a lot of like false stuff put out in the internet about people, and nobody ever gets like stuff come back on them, like just putting out like random information that's not true. That's defamation of character. Is like, since YouTube and all that's become a big thing, defamation of character is so bad, but they never get like in trouble for it. So
I mean, that would be slander, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
it is illegal, but it's you got to have the money to go after somebody. I guess with it,
you got to
right?
be willing to actually fight that battle. So
yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and leave this conversation with. You guys have any ideas in your specific business? Are ways that you might be able to combat and in gyms, I don't know how much it's going to affect a personal training facility, but is there anything that's crossed your mind of things you need to do better at that could help protect you against AI?
I think for us, it's just, I kind of hinted at it earlier. I think it just comes down to almost like doubling down on the opposite end of AI and automations in having as much human interaction as possible, right? Like, so we started doing video messages back to our clients once every so often, right? Like from coaches, like where they say their name, they know it's not, I mean, I guess you won't know pretty soon if that's AI generated or not, but like, I think just little things like that we're building a community, having human interaction. They know it's coming from us. It's not an automated system. Having somebody like Trevor, like with you, with Level Up, like somebody they can actually speak to, and it's not AI generated. Like, I think as much that we can do that for like our client base, I think it's gonna just help with retaining them in terms of like, okay, this is solving a need that I have of just that human interaction that I'm not getting in so many other areas of my life with other businesses and things like that.
I think we really hope that doing what Danny said appeals to a biological need for human interaction or social interaction, because the way my head starts to think about things is there will be a generation that is so used to AI and how it helps their lives that they will prefer using it rather than spending the time to talk to another human when they can. Because there's a lot of kids being raised on tablets and things quite a bit, and their social interaction is, not all of them, but it contributes to their abilities. It leads to a lack of ability to interact socially when they're over used to being on tablets that can create these like hyper stimulating situations and things. So and that's starting to unfold, and it's a generational thing, right? Because technology kind of comes in waves, and those things start to get used in the household. Like people don't eat together at the dinner table as a family as often. Like traditions start to change that once were really focused on fostering social interaction. with this technology, like our phones and things, it's different now. But it could be that the clients that we serve, let's say specifically in gyms, let's say we serve people there's like you have certain gyms that might serve people in their 20s. And then you've got other gyms that serve like busy parents in their 30s and 40s. And then you got the service of working with people like 50 and up, 55 and up. And of course they can intermingle, but each one of those is going to prefer their information and the way they communicate in a different way. And there might be some, like we could all say like, hey, if I'm marketing to somebody who is 62 years old, they are less likely to answer my text message and more likely to pick up my phone call if I'm trying to get that lead in the door. So there is a good chance that one day it might be the businesses might have, the smaller business might have to adapt with less human interaction or a different version of it if they're trying to appeal to that customer. But I think COVID was a great example of showing us, we hope, right, that it's still like a biological need for social interaction, because I would bet that almost everybody, maybe not in the service industry for fitness and providing an experience specifically, but everybody in like the investment world, like private investment, would have put all their bets into virtual fitness training and into apps and things like that related to personal training, thinking that that was going to probably take over the marketplace after COVID, right? After all the technology improved to get everybody doing things virtually, after being able to do things like this over computers, like from all 3 different states all around the country. But it wasn't what happened. Everybody came back in droves, right, to try to get back in person with that social interaction. To me, shows that there's a biological need. I only work with a very small sample size, but there's also investment in boutique studio style gyms now too. So I think that we'll always have to, in a service-based business, that human side of it will always be required. And that could be a plumber. It could be somebody who repairs computers, right? It could be a fitness business, or an escape room, stuff like that.
Yeah, sorry.
So I would just agree with Danny. I know that was a long way of saying it, but we hope it stays that way from service-based business perspective, because as a service-based business owner, I'm okay with product fulfillment of something I need to order being super duper fast and easy to deal with if it's not dealing with a person.
Yeah, so I've been thinking a lot about doubling down on the community side of things. Obviously, the Brotherhood, that's what we're doing with this part with entrepreneurs, but my mind has gone specifically over the last month. I've been thinking about this a lot, like doing local based community groups and actually having people pay to be part of those. And what I mean by that is my mind's gone to like, okay, could I do a local mastermind that's like just locally in the area? But also, could I set up a local pickup basketball group, right? Things of that nature like are being lost. My dad was talking to me about this in the 1970s and 80s. They had these things called JVs. They had them all throughout the United States. I can't remember. I don't know what JV exactly stood for, but what it was is it was a community group that was happening in small towns that people. It's just a place where people got together. It was like their social area, right? Their social group. And those, there's still some of those available in golf clubs and things of that nature, but for the most part, those have disappeared. And so, but that was a need at that time. Well, that need is tenfold right now, tenfold, but those have disappeared. So my mind has gone to like, man, what if like in local communities, you could go in and start to make situations that people get together that makes it inclusive, that anybody can join this, but in the sense that it makes it enough, one, profitable, right? So like I can make enough money on this to be worth my time to organize this, somebody organizing this kind of stuff. But 2, giving them a spot. Okay, like I'm using pickup basketball as an example for this because I feel like people get like the networking idea. Like there's already groups for that. Mastermind is a little bit different than networking, but they get that. But like a pickup basketball game is like, for me as somebody that's locally in a small town, like finding a pickup basketball group is hard. It really is hard to do. But if I had something organized, hey, this age group 40 to 60-year-old for this, there might be markets for that. So my thought process is, as I have become almost my entire day is here on the computer, I so want after work to have nothing to do with technology so much.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, I would love to find things. And I imagine it is that way for a lot of people. So not that I'm doing anything about it right now, but my mind goes that like, there might be a bigger market for community service-based things that used to be in society now that need to be brought back to society. And maybe there's an opportunity there to get people to do. Now, the obstacle with that is if AI replaces people's jobs, they can't afford to do those things in their free time. So that's an obstacle there. But my mind has thought like even bigger picture, community and things of that nature can be a bigger selling point for businesses. And if you can build those into your business structure, awesome. But if you can't build them in your business structure, having something that possibly has community, like gyms have a great community component to it. Mastermind is a great community component. But outside of that, I think there is an opportunity for community in a lot of places. Cool, guys. This is a good conversation today about AI. Obviously, we're just kind of tipping the hat. We're kind of like, this conversation came up because obviously podcasts out there all over are doing this kind of topic, and it was kind of interesting to us as well because we do live with a lot of AI in our life. Or we think a lot, but we probably do nothing compared to what a lot of people do. Comparable, but it's a good conversation to keep having. It's going to be a conversation that's going to happen a lot over the next 5 to 10 years, and we just got to continue to morph with it and figure out what's the best thing for us. All right, guys, thanks for joining us on today's call. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay locked in. Brotherhood is more than business. It's about leading from the front, leveling up in every domain, and becoming the CEO of your own life. Step up, execute, and we'll see you in the next one.